Welcome to This is Thailand. I'm your host, and today's story is about Clyde, a 67-year-old retired electrician from Portland, Oregon, who came to Chiang Mai looking for something he'd lost somewhere along the way. What he found instead was a lesson about loneliness, mathematics, and what happens when you want something badly enough to ignore every warning sign flashing red in front of you. Clyde thought he had it all figured out: the budget, the plan, the numbers that made sense on paper. He met a woman who seemed different, who made him feel like he mattered again, and for a while, it was everything he'd hoped for. But what happened next changed everything. This one's going to stick with you. Here's his story, in his own words. My name's Clyde, and I spent 40 years as a union electrician in Portland. 40 years pulling wire through walls, running conduit in the rain, crawling through attics in August heat, doing the work that keeps the lights on. I was good at it too. The kind of guy contractors asked for by name because they knew I'd show up on time, wire it to code, and not cut corners. The work was honest, straightforward. You follow the rules, check your connections, and everything works the way it's supposed to. I took pride in that. The divorce came when I was 52. It wasn't dramatic, no screaming matches, no affairs that I knew about then. Just the slow death of a marriage where I worked too much and she found someone who paid more attention. We'd been together since our 20s, raised 2 kids in a house in Beaverton. When the papers were signed, she got the house. I got the truck and whatever furniture she didn't want. That part hurt, sure, but what really gutted me was watching my kids choose sides. They were teenagers when it happened. My son was 17, my daughter 15. Their mother had her version of events, and it made me the bad guy. The workaholic who was never home. The boring guy who talked about electrical code at dinner. Maybe she wasn't wrong. My son stopped returning my calls within 6 months. My daughter would answer sometimes, but the conversations got shorter and colder, until they were just obligatory birthday texts. "Thanks, Dad. Hope you're well." Like I was some distant relative she barely remembered. By the time I retired at 65, I hadn't seen either of them in 5 years. My son had 2 kids I'd never met. My daughter got married, and I found out on Facebook. I was a stranger to them, and that was somehow worse than the divorce itself. Starting over at 52 meant rebuilding everything from zero. The house equity went to her. My retirement savings had to be split. I moved into a studio apartment and started the slow climb back to financial stability. Every month, I'd put away whatever I could from my paycheck, $300 here, $500 there, if the overtime was good. By 65, when I finally retired, I'd managed to scrape together $27,000, not much to show for 40 years of work, but it was mine. My pension from the union came out to $1,400 a month. Social Security added another $1,400, $2,800 total. In Portland, that meant living small. My studio apartment cost $1,100 monthly, just a room really, with a kitchenette and a bathroom the size of a closet. Groceries ran another $400. Utilities, phone, internet, car insurance, it all added up. I had maybe $300 or $400 left over each month if I was careful. Portland had changed too. The city I'd worked in my whole life had become expensive and young. Craft breweries everywhere, packed with tech workers in their 20s and 30s. Coffee shops where a cup cost what I used to pay for lunch. I'd go to dive bars sometimes, the old union spots, but even those were filling up with kids who'd never swung a hammer. I felt invisible, like the city had moved on without me. Dating was worse. I tried the apps. Everyone said that's how you meet people now. But women my age wanted men who were financially secure, who owned homes, who had families to bring to Thanksgiving. I was a divorced electrician living in a studio apartment with estranged kids. My profile got maybe 1 match a month, conversations that died after a few messages. I stopped trying after a while. Most nights I'd microwave something, eat it alone watching Deadliest Catch or whatever was on, then scroll Facebook until I got tired enough to sleep. I'd see my daughter's posts about her kids, my grandkids doing normal family things, my son posting photos from camping trips, fishing with his boys, all the things I used to do with them. They'd moved on, built lives that didn't include me, and I didn't blame them really. I just existed at the edges of it all, alone. That's when YouTube started showing me the videos. I'd be up at 2 in the morning, couldn't sleep, just scrolling on my phone. The algorithm knew somehow. Videos about retiring in Thailand started appearing in my feed. Older Western guys with young Thai women, smiling, living in nice condos. The titles were all variations of the same promise. Live in Thailand on $1,500 a month. How I retired to paradise on a pension. One video hooked me completely. The guy was maybe 60, looked like a regular working-class dude, and he broke down his monthly costs in Chiang Mai. Rent, $300 for a modern studio. Food, $200, eating well. Utilities, $50. Transportation, $100. That left $850 for savings and extras. The math worked. I'd always been frugal, knew how to live within my means. If I could do it in expensive Portland, I could definitely do it in cheap Thailand. But more than the numbers, the videos showed something I'd lost: companionship. The guys in these videos had Thai girlfriends or wives who actually seemed happy to be around them. They'd go to markets together, eat at street stalls, sit at bars holding hands. The women were young and pretty, sure, but more importantly, they were present, attentive. They made the men seem like they mattered. I started watching hours of this stuff, channels dedicated to expat life in Thailand, guys showing their apartments, their daily routines, their relationships. Some of them were honest about the complications: visa runs, language barriers, cultural differences. But most of them made it seem simple. Move to Thailand, live cheap, find a nice Thai woman who appreciates you, start over in a place where your pension makes you middle class instead of poor. The loneliness was eating me alive in Portland. I'd go whole weeks without talking to anyone except cashiers at the grocery store. My phone would go days without ringing. The apartment felt like a cell. I'd sit there at night, the silence so heavy I could feel it pressing down, and I'd think about the next 20 years if nothing changed. Just me, alone, getting older, waiting to die in a city that had forgotten I existed. Thailand started feeling like the answer. Not just mathematically, though the budget made sense, but emotionally. A chance to matter again. To have someone ask how my day was. To feel useful, needed, wanted. The videos made it seem possible. Simple, even. Just get on a plane and everything could be different. I spent 3 months researching. I watched probably 200 videos about Chiang Mai specifically. It seemed calmer than Bangkok or Pattaya, more affordable than the islands, with a good expat community. I read blog posts about visa options, cost of living, neighborhoods. I joined Facebook groups for expats in Thailand and learnt, reading their posts about apartments and insurance and where to eat. In December, 2 months before I turned 66, I booked a one-way ticket to Chiang Mai, sold most of my furniture, gave my landlord notice, packed 2 suitcases with clothes and essentials. My daughter sent a message asking if I was sure about this. My son didn't respond at all. I told myself it didn't matter. There was nothing keeping me in Portland anyway, just loneliness and memories of a family that didn't want me anymore. The flight left on a rainy January morning. I sat in the window seat watching Portland disappear below the clouds, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Not happiness exactly, but possibility. Like maybe the second half of my life could be different than the first. Like maybe I could still matter to someone, somewhere. I had no idea what was coming. The Chiang Mai airport hit me like a wall of wet heat. I'd stepped off planes before work trips to Phoenix, that one vacation to Mexico years back, but this was different. It was January, middle of winter back home, and I walked out of that air-conditioned terminal into what felt like a sauna. 85 degrees, humid, the air thick with exhaust and something else I couldn't identify. Incense maybe, or street food cooking somewhere nearby. I stood there for a minute getting my bearings, watching the chaos. Tuk-tuks everywhere, drivers yelling at tourists, families loading onto songtheus, those red pickup trucks with benches in the back. Everyone moving with purpose except me. I had 2 suitcases, a phone with downloaded maps that barely worked, and an Airbnb confirmation for a place in something called Deepening. The taxi ride into the city cost 300 baht. I'd done enough research to know that was maybe $10, reasonable. The driver didn't speak much English, just nodded when I showed him the address on my phone. We drove through streets I didn't understand. Motorcycles weaving between cars, Buddhist temples with gold spires next to 7-Elevens, neon signs in Thai script everywhere. It felt foreign in a way that was exciting at first, then slightly terrifying. My apartment was exactly what the listing promised. A studio on the 3rd floor of a modern building, maybe 400 square feet total, kitchen along one wall with a 2-burner electric stove and a small fridge, bathroom with a toilet and a shower that just drained into the floor. The bed took up most of the space, but there was a desk, a chair, a flat-screen TV on the wall. Air conditioning that worked, $280 a month, paid up front for the first month. I unpacked my suitcases, hung my clothes in the tiny closet, and sat on the bed feeling the weight of what I'd done. I was 66 years old, 8,000 miles from home, in a country where I couldn't read the signs or speak the language. My entire life fit in 2 suitcases. If this didn't work, I had nowhere to go back to. That first week was a blur of small victories and constant confusion. I figured out the 7-Eleven 2 blocks away sold bottled water and instant noodles. I learned that the night market near the old city had food stalls where you could point at what you wanted, and they'd serve it for 50 or 60 baht, less than $2. Pad Thai, fried rice, grilled meat on sticks. Everything tasted different than the Thai food back home, spicier, more intense. The math was working exactly like the videos promised. I kept a little notebook, tracked every expense. Rent $280, food, maybe $8 or $9 a day if I ate local. I'd walk everywhere to save money on transportation. My first week in Chiang Mai, including rent, cost me less than $400 total. Back in Portland, that wouldn't have covered my apartment and groceries. but the loneliness followed me. That's the thing nobody mentions in those YouTube videos. You can move 8,000 miles, and the silence still sounds the same. Niman was full of young people. Digital nomads sitting in coffee shops with laptops and expensive headphones, working remotely for companies in San Francisco or London. 20-somethings on gap years, backpackers comparing hostels and border runs. The few older expats I saw were already coupled up Western guys with Thai wives or girlfriends, moving through the area like they belonged. I'd try to strike up conversations sometimes. At a coffee shop, I'd sit near another Westerner, comment on the weather, or ask about visa stuff. The conversations never went anywhere. Everyone was friendly enough but busy, already connected to their own networks. I didn't know the references, which visa agent to use, which temple was worth visiting, what happened at last week's expat meetup. I was on the outside, looking in. Nights were the worst. I'd sit in my apartment with the air conditioning running, scrolling Facebook on my phone. My daughter had posted photos of my grandson's birthday party. 5 years old, a superhero cake, a backyard full of kids. I wasn't there, wasn't invited. My son had shared something about a fishing trip with his father-in-law, the guy who replaced me in that role. I'd opened the dating apps I'd downloaded before leaving Portland, swiped through profiles of Thai women. Most of them looked too young, too polished, profiles that screamed bar girl or professional dater. The few that seemed genuine never matched with me. I was just another broke Farang with nothing to offer. By the second week, I'd fallen into a routine that felt uncomfortably familiar. Wake up, instant coffee from 7-Eleven, walk around aimlessly, eat cheap food alone, go back to the apartment. The city was beautiful, temples everywhere. Mountains in the distance, street life that never stopped, but I was experiencing it through a fog of isolation. I'd moved to Thailand to escape loneliness and somehow made it worse. That's when I found the restaurant. It was 2 blocks from my apartment, easy to miss if you weren't looking. Just a small storefront with plastic chairs and tables, fluorescent lights, a menu in Thai with a few English translations underneath. The kind of place where locals ate, not tourists. A woman in her 50s ran it with help from what looked like family members, younger women serving. A guy in back doing the cooking. The food was good and cheap. Khao swa, that northern Thai curry noodle soup, for 60 baht. Fried rice for 50. Everything came with that Thai spice that made my nose run but tasted better than anything I could make in my apartment. I started eating there most nights because it beat microwaving instant noodles, and the prices meant I'd stay under budget. That's where I noticed Noi. She was one of the servers, late 30s maybe, not beautiful in that bar girl way, but pretty in a normal, approachable way. She wore simple clothes, jeans and a t-shirt, hair pulled back, no heavy makeup. When she brought me my food, she'd smile, ask if everything was okay, sometimes try out her English. After about a week of eating there, she started recognizing me. She'd see me walk in and smile, bring me water without asking, remember that I liked my fried rice without too much chili. Small things, but they made me feel seen. Like I was a regular, not just another anonymous Farang passing through. One night, maybe my 10th time eating there, the restaurant was quieter than usual. Just me and an older Thai couple at another table. Noi brought my khao swa and lingered for a moment. You eat here every night, she said. You live near? I nodded. 2 blocks. Just moved here from America. America. Her face lit up. Where in America? Portland. It's in Oregon, Pacific Northwest. I know Oregon. Very green, yes? Rain a lot? I smiled. Yeah, rains a lot. That's why I'm here. Wanted some sunshine. She laughed at that, and something about it felt genuine. Not the rehearsed laugh you hear from women working in tourist areas, but a real reaction. She asked what brought me to Chiang Mai, and I gave her the short version. Retired, wanted to try living somewhere new, heard good things about Thailand. She nodded like that made sense. Many Farang come here now, retire, work online. Chiang Mai is a good city, not expensive like Bangkok. We talked for maybe 5 minutes before she had to help the other customers. Nothing deep, just normal conversation. But when I walked back to my apartment that night, I felt lighter than I had since landing. Someone had asked about my life. Someone seemed interested. The next night, she sat with me for a few minutes after her shift. The restaurant was closing, and she pulled out a chair at my table like it was the most natural thing in the world. She told me her name was Noi, that she'd worked at the restaurant for 3 years, that she had a daughter who was 15, studying in Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai is about 3 hours north, she explained. My daughters stay with my mother there, go to good school. I work here, send money home. I told her about being an electrician, about Portland, about working with my hands for 40 years. She seemed genuinely impressed by that. In Thailand, she said, people respect men who build things, not just sit in office. When she laughed at my story about accidentally drilling through a water pipe on a job site, flooding a whole apartment, I felt something I hadn't felt in 15 years. Not attraction exactly, though she was pretty. Something simpler. Connection. The feeling of being interesting to someone. of mattering. She gave me her line contact before I left. That's what everyone uses in Thailand instead of texting. She said maybe we could practice English together sometime, that she wanted to improve for when tourists ask questions at the restaurant. I walked back to my apartment that night, and the silence didn't feel quite as heavy. The math was still working. I'd spent less than $400 my first 2 weeks, including rent, way under budget. But more importantly, there was possibility now, not just the financial possibility of making Thailand work, but the human possibility of building something here. Someone who smiled when I walked in. Someone who asked how my day was. Someone who made me feel like, maybe, just maybe, I could matter again. Looking back now, I should have recognized the pattern already forming. The casual mention of her daughter's school, the long distance making it expensive, the single mother working hard to make ends meet. But I wasn't looking for patterns then. I was looking for connection, for purpose, for someone to make the loneliness stop. And Noi made it stop, at least for a little while. I need to tell you why Noi felt different. Because I know what you're thinking. Guy meets waitress in Thailand, starts giving her money, classic sucker story. But it wasn't like that, at least it didn't feel like that. She wasn't a bar girl. That's the first thing. I'd done my research, watched enough YouTube videos to know the warnings. Bar girls in Pattaya or Bangkok, the ones who work. Walking street or soy cowboy, they've got a look. Heavy makeup, tight clothes, practice smiles, the whole routine. Noi wasn't that. She worked at a family restaurant, wore jeans and t-shirts, pulled her hair back in a ponytail. She looked like someone's mom, which I guess she was. And she never asked for money, not once in that first month. That's what made it feel real. We started seeing each other outside the restaurant maybe 3 days after she gave me her line contact. Nothing fancy. She'd suggest we walk around the old city moat or check out the weekend market, or visit one of the temples. She insisted on paying for her own food at first, which actually embarrassed me. I'd reach for the bill at a noodle stall and she'd wave me off, count out her baht, hand it to the vendor herself. "You don't need to pay for me," she'd say. "I have job, I can pay." That impressed me more than I can explain. After a lifetime of American dating culture where everything felt transactional, here was a woman who wanted to spend time with me without treating me like an ATM. Our dates were simple. We'd walk through the Sunday market and she'd translate the vendor signs, teach me words for different fruits and vegetables. We'd sit by the Ping River drinking Leo beer from 7-Eleven, watching the sunset behind Doi Suthep Mountain. She'd tell me about growing up in a village near Chiang Mai, about marrying young to a Thai guy who turned out to be a drunk and worse. "He hit me," she said one night, matter of fact, like she was describing the weather. "When he drink, he get angry. Hit me, break things. I stay 7 years because I have baby daughter. But finally I leave. Take my daughter, go live with my mother. Divorce him." She'd been raising her daughter alone for 7 years, working whatever job she could find, sending money back to Chiang Mai for school fees and her mother's living expenses. The daughter, her name was Ploy, was 15 now, studying hard, wanted to go to university. Noi showed me photos on her phone. A pretty girl in a school uniform, smiling in front of a temple, holding up a test paper with a good grade. I asked about her ex, whether he helped with money. Noi laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. He have new wife now, younger. He forget about Ploy Thai men, many of them like this, forget their children when they find new woman. I told her about my kids then. About the divorce, about my son and daughter choosing their mother's side, about becoming a stranger to my own grandkids. She listened without judgment, reached across the table, and squeezed my hand. "That's very sad," she said. "Children should not forget their father. You seem like good man." Those words hit me harder than they should have. You seem like good man. When was the last time anyone had said something like that to me? She introduced me to her aunt, a woman in her 60s who worked at the 7-Eleven near my apartment. The aunt spoke almost no English but smiled warmly, gave me extra napkins with my coffee, treated me like I was already part of the family. Noi would show me photos of her daughter's school accomplishments, talk about wanting a simple life, about being tired of working so hard for so little. "I just want peace," she'd say. "Someone kind, someone who not lie, not hit, not drink too much, someone with good heart." I'd tell her about electrical work, about the satisfaction of solving problems, about following code and doing things right. She seemed genuinely interested, asked questions about America, about what houses looked like there, whether it was true that everyone was rich. "Not everyone," I'd laugh. "I'm not rich, just a guy with a pension." "But here, you are rich," she'd say. "Here, small money from America is big money for Thai people." By late February, we were spending most evenings together. She'd come to my apartment after her restaurant shift, usually around 9, smelling like cooking oil and lemongrass, and we'd sit on my bed watching Thai TV shows I didn't understand while she translated. Or we'd walk to a riverside bar, sit at plastic tables drinking cheap beer, watching the city lights reflect on the water. She'd sleep over sometimes, nothing rushed, nothing transactional. It felt domestic, natural. She'd wake up early, use my little electric stove to make Thai omelets with fish sauce and chilies. She'd massage my shoulders when they ached from sleeping wrong. She'd fold my laundry without me asking, organize my apartment in small ways that made it feel less like a temporary landing spot and more like a home. Thai women, she told me one night, want good heart, not rich man. We know how to be happy with little money. American women, they want big house, new car, many things. Thai women just want peace and family. I believed her completely. God help me, I believed every word. The first mention of money came casually in late February, about 6 weeks after we'd started seeing each other. We were at a riverside bar and she seemed distracted, kept checking her phone with a worried expression. "Everything okay?" I asked. She hesitated, then shook her head. "Just problem with ploy school. School fees due next week. 6,000 baht. But restaurant very slow this month. I'm short, maybe 5,000. She wasn't asking. That's what made it feel different. She was just venting, the way people do when they're stressed. I knew that number 6,000 baht was about $170, less than I'd spent on groceries in a week back in Portland. "I can help with that," I said. Her eyes went wide. "No, Clyde, I cannot accept that too much. It's not too much. It's school fees, for your daughter. Let me help." We went back and forth like that for 10 minutes. Her insisting she couldn't accept, me insisting it was no big deal, just a one-time help between friends. Finally, reluctantly, she agreed. I transferred the money to her Thai bank account that night using my phone. The gratitude felt real. She teared up, hugged me, called me the best man she'd ever met. For the next week, she brought me home cooked meals every night. Northern Thai dishes her grandmother had taught her: lob, sayua, nam preek with vegetables. She'd show up at my door with containers of food, refused to let me pay for anything when we went out. "I told you I pay back," she said. "Maybe not money right now, but I pay back by taking care of you." It felt good, more than good. It felt like I'd solved a problem, like I'd used my resources to make someone's life better. The electrician in me responded to that. Find the issue, fix it, make the system work again. I was good at fixing things. 2 weeks later, her motorcycle broke down. She mentioned it offhand, the engine making bad sounds, a mechanic saying it needed 8,000 baht in repairs. Without the bike, she'd have to pay for Sant they used to get to work, which would eat into her already tight budget. I offered before she could even finish explaining. She resisted again, the same dance, the same reluctance, the same eventual acceptance. I transferred 8,000 baht. She got the motorcycle fixed. More home-cooked meals, more gratitude, more of her making my apartment feel like somewhere I belonged. Looking back, I can see the pattern. Every few weeks, a new problem. The daughter's tutoring, the mother's medication, unexpected fees at the restaurant. Each one just bad luck, just life being difficult for a single mother in Thailand. Each one small enough to seem reasonable by American standards. And each one presented as a problem, not a request. She never asked directly, just mentioned the stress, the worry, the difficulty, and I'd jump in to fix it, because that's what I did. That's what I'd always done: see a problem, solve it. Check the connections, replace the broken parts, restore function. It felt righteous. It felt like being useful. By late March, we were basically living together. She kept clothes in my apartment, toiletries in the bathroom, ingredients in the fridge. She'd cook dinner most nights after work, do my laundry, make the place feel less like a bachelor's studio and more like a home. She'd talk about her daughter, asking questions about me, whether I was kind, whether I made her mother happy. "Maybe someday you meet Ploy," she'd say, "when she ready, when she not so shy." I started imagining a future, a real one, with structure and purpose. Maybe in a year or two, Ploy could come stay with us during school breaks. Maybe we'd move to a bigger apartment, something with 2 bedrooms. Maybe I'd finally have the family I'd lost, rebuilt here in Thailand with people who actually wanted me around. The math still worked. I'd helped Noi with maybe $600 total by the end of March. My monthly expenses were running around $800 rent, food, utilities, the occasional help for Noi's emergencies. I had plenty of buffer, 26,000 left in savings, income of 2,800 monthly. The budget was tight but sustainable if nothing major went wrong. And more importantly, I wasn't lonely anymore. I had someone to wake up beside, someone who asked how I slept, made me breakfast, cared whether I was happy. Someone who made Chiang Mai feel less foreign, less isolating, less like a place where I was just marking time until I died. I told myself this was what I'd come to Thailand for, not just cheap living, but connection, community. A relationship with someone who appreciated simple things, who wasn't obsessed with houses and boats and retirement accounts. Someone with a good heart who saw the good heart in me. The warnings I'd heard felt irrelevant. Those stories were about bar girls, about obvious scams, about desperate old men who should have known better. This was different. Noi had a real job, a daughter, a family. She wasn't asking for money, she was sharing her life with me, and I was helping where I could because that's what people do when they care about each other. I should have seen it. The timing was too perfect, the problems too regular, the resistance too rehearsed. But loneliness makes you blind, not just to obvious red flags, but to patterns, to math that doesn't quite add up, to the fact that real relationships don't require monthly financial interventions to function. I was needed, I was useful, I mattered, and I'd been starving for all three for so long that I couldn't see I was paying for something that should have been free. By the end of March, 3 months into my new life in Thailand, I'd spent maybe $600 helping Noi, had $19,000 left to spend on building a future together, and was convinced I'd found something real. I had no idea I'd already started bleeding out my savings to fund someone else's con. By April, Noi was living in my apartment more than she was living anywhere else. She'd stay most nights, had half my closet full of her clothes, kept her toiletries next to mine in the bathroom. The relationship had that comfortable, worn-in feeling that takes most couples years to develop. We'd fallen into a routine. She'd work her shift at the restaurant, come home around 9, smelling like kitchen grease and jasmine, shower while I made us tea. Then we'd sit on the bed watching Thai dramas until we fell asleep. She took care of me in ways I'd forgotten were possible. She'd notice when I was running low on coffee and pick some up at 7-Eleven. She'd buy mangoes from the market because she remembered I liked them. She made sure I took my blood pressure medication every morning, set little alarms on my phone when I forgot. When my shoulders ached from sleeping wrong, she'd massage them without me asking, her small hands surprisingly strong. For the first time since my marriage fell apart 15 years ago, I felt like part of a partnership, not just cohabiting, but actually building something together. The marriage conversation started in late April. We were at a riverside bar, one of those places with plastic chairs and warm Leo beer, watching the sun set behind the mountains. No eye seemed distracted, kept checking her phone with a worried expression. "What's wrong?" I asked. She put her phone down, looked at me seriously. "My family ask about us, about our relationship. What do they ask? If you serious, if we get married." "My mother, she very traditional. She worry about me living with man without marriage. She say it brings shame." I felt something tighten in my chest. Not fear exactly, but awareness that we'd reached a decision point. I was old-fashioned too, if I was being honest. The ambiguity of our arrangement had been bothering me. Living together felt like playing house, like we were pretending at something without committing to it. "What do you think?" I asked. She reached across the table, took my hand. "I think you good man, Clyde. Best man I ever know. If you want to marry, I want to marry, but only if you want. I don't want to pressure you." Marriage made sense. It would formalize what we already had, give us both security. It would make me part of her family officially, not just the Farang boyfriend who sent money sometimes. And honestly, I wanted it. I wanted the commitment, the legitimacy, the feeling of belonging to something. I researched the process that night on my laptop. Getting married in Thailand as a foreigner wasn't complicated. You needed documentation from your embassy, went to the district office, paid some fees. Total cost maybe 5,000 baht, about $150. Simple. But the next day, when I mentioned it to Noi, she got quiet. "What?" I asked. She hesitated. "In Thailand, there is tradition, called sinsod, like dowry in English. The man paid a bride's family before wedding." I'd heard about this. The YouTube videos mentioned it, though opinions varied wildly. Some guys said it was a scam, others said it was real culture that should be respected. "How much?" I asked. She looked embarrassed. "Depend on family, on bride's education, on many things. My family, they reasonable people, not ask too much, maybe 200,000 baht. I did the math in my head. 200,000 baht was about $5,600, more than a fifth of my total savings. The number shocked me. "That's a lot of money, Noi." "I know." Her eyes filled with tears. "That's why I say don't worry about marriage. We can just stay like this. I don't want you to feel pressure." But she explained the cultural context. Sinsad showed the groom's financial capability, his commitment, his respect for the bride's family. It was tradition going back centuries. And importantly, she said, much of it gets returned after the ceremony. The money was displayed for photos, proving the family's respectability, then half or more typically came back. It was partly theater. So the real cost would be, what, $2,800? Yes, maybe. Sometimes more come back, sometimes less. But my mother, she honest woman, she give back half, maybe more. I spent 2 days thinking about it, running the numbers. 27,000 in savings minus 5,600 for Sinsad left 21,000, but if 3,000 came back, the real cost was only 2,800. In America, weddings cost tens of thousands. This seemed almost reasonable by comparison, and the electrician logic kicked in. Marriage would actually save money long term. We could split rent, combine food budgets, Eliminate the redundancy of her paying for anything separately. We'd live cheaper together than apart. Plus, marriage meant security. Family. The things I'd come to Thailand looking for. I told her yes in early May. She cried, actually cried, hugged me so hard I could barely breathe. She called her mother right there, speaking rapid Thai one couldn't follow, laughing and crying at the same time. The wedding was set for late May in her village outside Chiang Mai. The drive north took 4 hours in a rented car, Noi navigating while I drove through countryside I'd never seen. Rice paddies, small villages, Buddhist temples with gold spires catching the sun. We stopped at a rest area, and she bought me mooping grilled pork on sticks and sticky rice wrapped in banana leaves. Her village was small, maybe 200 houses clustered around a temple, chickens wandering the dirt roads, old women sitting in the shade selling vegetables. Her mother's house was wooden, raised on stilts, paint peeling, surrounded by fruit trees. The family came out to greet us. Mother, aunts, uncles, cousins I'd never met, Noi's brother who needed the truck money months ago. They treated me like visiting royalty. Noi's mother, a tiny woman in her 60s, pressed her hands together in a Y and thanked me in broken English. The brother shook my hand, called me Phi, which Noi translated as older brother, a term of respect. They brought out food lob, some tam, grilled fish spread on a mat under the house. I sat cross-legged, sweating in the heat, trying to use chopsticks while aunties I didn't know refilled my plate. The wedding happened at dawn 2 days later. Buddhist monks in saffron robes chanted in Pali I couldn't understand. Noi wore traditional Thai silk, gold and red, looked beautiful in a way I'd never seen. I wore the one dress shirt I owned, khaki pants, felt like an imposter in this ceremony I didn't comprehend. The Sinzad presentation was elaborate, 200,000 baht, in 1,000 baht notes, arranged in decorative patterns on gold trays. Photos from every angle, me and Noi with the money, her family with the money, the whole village seemingly with the money. It felt surreal, performative, but everyone smiled like this was the most normal thing in the world. After the ceremony, after the monks left, Noi's mother pulled me aside and handed me an envelope. Her eyes were wet, grateful. She said something in Thai I didn't understand. Noi translated. She say thank you for taking care of me. She say you good man. She pray Buddha bless you. Inside the envelope was cash. I didn't count it then, just slipped it in my pocket, trusting the tradition Noi had described. Half back, maybe more. The math would work out. Back in Chiang Mai a week later, married life felt like vindication. Noi moved her remaining things into my apartment, transformed the sterile studio into something that felt like a home. She hung curtains, bought plants, rearranged furniture in ways that made the space work better. She cooked elaborate meals on my little electric stove, curries and stir-fries that made the whole floor smell like lemongrass and chili. My monthly costs actually decreased. We ate home-cooked food instead of restaurants. We combined errands, shared expenses, eliminated waste. I was spending maybe 700 a month now instead of 800. The marriage was actually saving me money. For 6 weeks, everything felt perfect. I had a wife, a home, a routine, companionship. Noi called me T-Rack darling, made me feel wanted in ways I'd forgotten were possible. I'd wake up to her already cooking breakfast, singing Thai pop songs I didn't know. We'd eat together, talk about our days, make plans for the weekend. I felt like I'd won something. Like the gamble of moving to Thailand had paid off in ways bigger than I'd imagined. Then came the family requests. Late June, Noi's phone rang during dinner. She answered, spoke Thai for 10 minutes, her face getting more serious. When she hung up, she looked stressed. That was my brother. He have problem. What kind of problem? He want to start business. Delivery business, transport things between Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai. But he need truck. If he can rent truck, he can make good money, help support our mother. How much does a truck cost? Not buy rent, or maybe buy used truck, very cheap one. Maybe 80,000 baht. I did the math. 80,000 baht was about $2,200. More than 10% of what I had left in savings. That's a lot, Noi. I know. She looked down at her plate. That's why I just say no. Tell him we cannot help, we don't have money like that. But she explained the situation. Her brother was 35, had been working construction, was trying to build something better for himself. The delivery business could actually work. There was real demand for transport between the cities. If he could just get a truck, he could earn 5, maybe 10,000 baht a week. Some of that would go to supporting their mother, taking pressure off Noi, and he'd pay us back, she said. Not all at once, but maybe 5,000 baht every month from his business. 16 months, all paid back. I ran the numbers. $2,200 for a 16-month payback meant a loan, not a gift. An investment in family infrastructure. If the brother was serious, it could actually work. And it would help everyone. The brother gets his business, the mother gets more support. Noi has less stress about sending money home. The electrician in me liked the logic. This was infrastructure, not frivolous spending. Infrastructure generates returns. Let me think about it, I said. I thought about it for 2 days. Checked my spreadsheet, calculated the impact. I had about 24,000 left after the sin sod. 80,000 baht would bring me down to around 22,000. Still enough buffer for emergencies. And if the brother actually paid 5,000 monthly, I'd be whole again in 16 months, maybe less. The risk felt manageable. The upside felt real. I told Noah yes. She called her brother immediately, switched to Thai, excited and fast. When she hung up, she hugged me. "You are best man, Clyde. My family's so lucky to have you." I transferred the 80,000 baht the next day. Photos arrived a week later. Noah's brother standing beside a used pickup truck, smiling, giving a thumbs up. Other photos showed him loading boxes, making his first deliveries, looking proud and capable. I felt good about it, like a patriarch, a provider, the kind of man who makes things possible for his family, the kind of man I'd always wanted to be but never quite managed in my first marriage. Looking back now, I should have counted the envelope Noah's mother gave me after the wedding. Should have verified the half return of Sinsad actually happened. But I trusted the system, trusted Noah's explanation, trusted that the math would work out. When I finally counted it weeks later, there was only 60,000 baht, not the 100,000 Noah had promised. When I asked about it, she got flustered, explained there were unexpected ceremony costs, fees for the monks, food for the village, things that had to be paid. The real cost of the wedding wasn't $2,800. It was closer to $4,600, plus the brother's truck at $2,200, plus the $600 in earlier helps. By the end of June, I'd spent $13,000 of my $27,000 in savings, nearly half my buffer gone in 6 months. But I told myself it was okay. The worst was over. We were married now, established. The brother would start repaying soon. We were living cheaper than ever, saving money monthly. The system was working. I didn't know that everything I'd given was funding a con that had been running long before I arrived. That every expense was real, but the returns would never materialize. That I was halfway to being bled completely dry. All I knew was that I had a wife who called me darling, a family who seemed grateful, and a life in Thailand that felt fuller than anything I'd known in Portland. The math didn't work. It never had. But I wouldn't see that until it was way too late. 3 months into marriage, I was running the numbers more often than I wanted to admit. I'd open my banking app in the morning, check the balance, run the mental calculations, 13,000 spent, 14,000 left. Monthly burn rate higher than planned, buffers shrinking faster than projected. But I told myself it was temporary. The brother's truck payments would start soon. Noah had said he needed time to establish routes, build client relationships, get the business flowing. I understood that. I'd been patient with contractors my whole career. Sometimes jobs took longer to pay out than expected. This was the same principle. Just wait. Just be patient. Noah called me T-Rack constantly now. Darling. She'd include me in video calls with Poi, her daughter, who'd wave shyly from Chiang Mai and say hello in practiced English. Noah would talk about me visiting the village as family, about Ploy coming to stay with us during school breaks, about building something permanent together. It felt real, more real than anything had felt in years. July came with the rainy season. Afternoon downpours that flooded the streets, turned the sky gray, made everything smell like wet concrete and tropical vegetation. Noah's phone rang one evening while she was cooking dinner. She answered, listened, her face shifting from confusion to worry. She spoke Thai fast, agitated, then hung up looking shaken. "What's wrong?" I asked. "My mother. She in hospital." "Is she okay?" Noah shook her head, tears already forming. "Her diabetes very bad now. Doctors say she need better medicine. The government hospital. They only give basic insulin. Not enough. She needs special kind, more expensive." "How much more expensive?" 6,000 baht every month. Maybe $170. I felt the number settle in my chest. 6,000 baht monthly was $2,040 annually. A permanent drain, not a one-time fix. But this was her mother's health, possibly her life. How could I say no to keeping someone alive? "We'll cover it," I said. "Don't worry," cried, hugged me, called me the best son-in-law. But that night, alone with my spreadsheet while she slept, I ran the new numbers. Monthly budget was already stretched. Rent, food, utilities, noise, small expenses. I was spending 1,900 to 2,000 instead of the 1,400 I'd planned. Now add 6,000 baht for insulin. That was another 500 monthly, pushing me to 2,500 total. My income was 2,800. That left 300 monthly margin, no emergency buffer, no savings accumulation. Just treading water. I told myself it was temporary. The brother would start paying back 5,000 baht monthly soon. That would cover the insulin with 1,000 left over. The system would balance. I just needed to be patient. August brought the village visit. Noi said her family wanted to see me, celebrate our marriage properly, show their appreciation. We drove north again, the 4-hour trip through rain-soaked countryside, arriving at her mother's house in late afternoon. The house looked worse than I remembered. Small, old, wooden walls warped from humidity. But the roof was the problem. I could see it immediately with my contractor's eye. Rusted corrugated metal, patches of holes, sections that had clearly been leaking for years. Inside, Noi's mother showed me buckets positioned around the bedroom, catching drips from recent rains. Noi's brother, aunt, and uncle sat me down that evening. They were respectful, formal, speaking through Noi's translation. The roof needed replacing. They tried to save but couldn't accumulate enough on their own. 120,000 baht, about $3,400. They'd hoped to do it themselves eventually, but the rainy season was destroying the house, ruining her mother's belongings, making the bedroom unusable. As the new family member, the Farang with resources, could I help? I sat there in that humid room, 10 pairs of eyes watching me, feeling the weight of cultural expectation pressing down. Noi's mother looked at me with desperate hope. The roof above us literally had holes I could see daylight through. The problem was undeniably real. Refusing would shame Noi. It would mark me as selfish, as the rich foreigner who wouldn't help his own family. It would destroy the harmony, the acceptance, the sense of belonging I'd built. But 120,000 baht was $3,400, a quarter of my remaining savings. I negotiated. Not 120, I said. $100,9,600. And I want to source materials myself, verify the contractor, make sure the work is done right. This is infrastructure, permanent fix. I need to ensure quality. They agreed immediately, gratefully. Noi cried, thanked me, said I was saving her mother's life. The family talked excitedly in Thai, making plans, calling contractors. That night, lying on a thin mattress in the stifling heat, listening to rain drum on the failing roof, I did the math in my head. 14,000 in savings minus 3,000 for the roof left 11,000. Add the brother's truck, the insulin, the earlier helps. I was 18,000 into my original 27,000 savings, 9,000 left. My monthly budget was burning through 400 to 600 more than income, meaning I was dipping into savings every month to cover the gap. At this rate, my buffer would evaporate in 15 months, maybe less. But the worst was over, I told myself. Major infrastructure complete, no more big expenses. The brother's truck would start generating repayments any day now. 5,000 baht monthly would cover the insulin with money left over. Ploy would finish school in 2 years and start working, reducing the burden on Noi and her mother. These were investments with returns. I just needed to hold through the startup phase. I transferred the money in 3 stages over 2 weeks, watching via photos as contractors stripped the old roof, installed new metal sheeting, sealed everything properly. The work looked good, professional. Her mother video called me crying, calling me a good son, thanking Buddha for sending me to their family. It felt good. It felt like I'd done something meaningful. By September, my savings sat at $9,000. My spreadsheet showed the math clearly. Monthly income, $2,800. Monthly expenses, $1,900 to $2,000. Sometimes more when Noi needed money for daughter's tutoring, new shoes, motorbike repairs, household items. The insulin for her mother, 6,000 baht monthly, about $170. I was running negative 400 to 600 monthly, bleeding savings to maintain the life I'd built. But I told myself the system would stabilize. The brother would start repaying, expenses would level off, we'd reached the peak done now, things would improve. The warning signs were multiplying, but I rationalized every single one. Noi's phone buzzed constantly with lie messages. She'd angle the screen away reflexively whenever a notification appeared. When I asked about it, she said it was her family group chat, cousins coordinating, aunts sharing photos, normal family communication. She'd show me some messages in Thai I couldn't read, scroll past others quickly, put the phone face down. It's habit from before, she explained. My ex-husband, he always tried to read my messages, make me crazy, accuse me of things. So now I just keep phone private. Old habit, you understand? I understood. Privacy was reasonable, not everything needed to be shared. Her visits home became more frequent. Every 2 weeks instead of monthly, sometimes more. She'd be gone 4, 5, sometimes 6 days at a time. Ploy was struggling in school, she said. Having emotional problems, needed her mother's support. Teen years were difficult. The girl needed consistency. I wanted to visit with her, meet Ploy properly, establish the stepfather relationship. But Noi always had reasons why the timing wasn't right. Ploy was stressed about exams, shy about meeting strangers, not ready for big changes. Better to wait until she was more comfortable with the idea. I sent money instead. 8,000 baht for intensive tutoring to help with her grades. 5,000 for new school uniforms and supplies. 3,000 for a school trip her class was taking. Each request came through Noi. Each one felt legitimate. Each one added to the monthly burn. Finding the second phone happened by accident. August afternoon, I was looking for a charging cable in Noi's purse. My hand touched an unfamiliar shape, a cheap Android phone I'd never seen, different from her iPhone, hidden in a side pocket. "What's this?" I asked, holding it up. Noi's face flashed panic, then settled into explanation. "Oh, that my work phone, restaurant give to all servers, for coordinating shifts, deliveries, schedule changes. I forget I have it." The explanation seemed plausible. I'd known businesses that provided staff phones for work communication, but something felt off. Why hide it in her purse instead of keeping it with a regular phone? Why had I never seen it before? I almost pushed, almost asked more questions. But pushing meant I didn't trust her. Questioning meant I thought she was lying. And if I admitted I didn't trust my wife, what did that say about our marriage? I handed the phone back. She slipped it into her purse, changed the subject, started talking about dinner plans. I told myself I was being paranoid. Cultural differences were real. Thai work culture might be different from what I knew. Just because something seemed strange didn't mean it was suspicious. But I started noticing other things. The line messages that made her smile in ways she didn't smile at me anymore. The phone calls she'd take outside, speaking Thai too quickly for me to catch even the words I knew. The way affection had become perfunctory, a kiss goodbye felt mechanical, sex rare, and distracted. When I tried to talk about it, she blamed stress, her daughter's exams, her mother's health, money worries about the future. Each explanation reasonable individually, together they formed a pattern I refused to see. Because seeing it meant admitting I'd been fooled. Admitting I'd spent $13,000, soon to be $18,000, on a con. Admitting the family I'd built was a transaction, not a relationship. Admitting that loneliness had made me stupid. I couldn't face that, wouldn't face it. So I told myself the cultural differences were real. Thai family obligations were legitimate, documented in expat forums and YouTube videos. Plenty of foreign men successfully navigated these expectations. I could too. I just needed patience, trust, faith that the investments would pay off. The brother never made a single truck payment, not one. When I asked Noi about it in September, she said he was still building the business, still establishing routes, still working toward profitability. These things took time. He would pay. Just be patient. I was patient. Patient and blind and desperate to believe. By the end of September, I had $9,000 left of my original $27,000, $18,000 spent in 9 months. 2/3 of my life savings gone. My monthly budget was underwater by $400 to $600, meaning I was bleeding savings just to maintain baseline expenses. At this rate, I'd be completely broke in 15 months, maybe 12 if any emergency hit. But I told myself I'd reached bottom, no more major expenses. The infrastructure was complete, the brother would start paying soon, the daughter would finish school eventually. The system would stabilize and I'd stop the bleeding. I was lying to myself, had been lying for months. But the alternative was admitting I'd destroyed my financial security chasing the illusion of family. And I wasn't ready to admit that, not yet. October brought changes I couldn't rationalize away anymore. Noi seemed absent even when she was sitting right beside me. She'd kiss me goodbye in the morning, but her mind was somewhere else. The affection felt like she was going through motions, checking boxes. Sex had become rare, mechanical when it happened at all. She spent more time staring at her phones. I knew for certain now there were two, than she spent talking to me. When I tried to discuss it, she had ready answers. Stress about Ploy's exams coming up. Worry about her mother's health declining. Money concerns about supporting everyone. Each explanation made sense individually, but collectively they felt like a script she'd memorized. Her trips to Chiang Mai intensified. October alone she went 3 times, 4 days, then 5, then 6 days gone. Each trip was for Ploy. The girl was struggling emotionally, needed constant mother support, couldn't handle the pressure of school. I wanted to go with her, finally meet my stepdaughter properly, but Noi always had reasons. Ploy was too stressed, too shy. Not ready for a Farang stepfather yet. Better to wait. So I sent more money instead. 8,000 bought for special tutoring. 5,000 for new school clothes and supplies. Feeling guilty that my presence in Noi's life was somehow causing instability for a teenage girl I'd never met. The truth came from Dave. I'd met him a month earlier at a coffee shop near THAPA. Australian guy, early 70s, been in Chiang Mai 8 years. We'd have breakfast sometimes, trade stories, complain about visa regulations. He'd survived his own relationship disaster years back, approached everything with careful skepticism now. Early November, Dave asked to meet. He seemed uncomfortable, apologetic, but determined. "Mate, I need to show you something. I was up in Chiang Mai last week visiting a friend. Saw your wife at a karaoke bar. She wasn't alone." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" He pulled out his phone, showed me photos. Noi sitting on a Western man's lap, younger than me, maybe early 50s, German-looking, They were affectionate, familiar, his arm around her waist like he owned her. "Could be someone who looks like her," I said. My voice sounded desperate even to me. "It's her, mate." I watched for 20 minutes to be sure. Dave had done more. He'd searched Facebook, found a second profile for Noi under a slightly different name. The photos told a story I didn't want to believe. Noi with this German man at restaurants, temples, beaches. The post dated back 8 months, overlapping completely with our entire relationship. The captions, run through Google Translate, were unambiguous. "With my husband, my T-Rock, take care me, lucky lady." The man's profile said his name was Jürgen, 53, from Munich, owned an export business. His post showed a man obviously in love. Heart emojis, declarations in German and broken Thai. His timeline showed he visited Thailand quarterly for business, 2 to 3 weeks at a time. I cross-referenced dates with Noi's trips home. They matched perfectly, every single one. The worst part was the gold rings. In recent photos, Jürgen wore one on his left hand. Noi wore a matching one, traditional Thai gold, intricate patterns. I'd never seen her wear it around me. I sat in that coffee shop processing everything. The second phone for communicating with Jürgen, the frequent trips home that were really trips to meet him. The line messages angled away Jürgen texting. Her emotional distance divided attention between two foreigners, the escalating money requests funding a lifestyle supported by two sources. Dave gave me hard advice. Confront her with evidence. Don't let her gaslight you. Accept the loss. Protect what money remained. But I wasn't ready. Some desperate part of me needed to hear her explanation, needed to believe there was some justification that would preserve the life I'd built. I spent 2 days investigating on my own, cross-referencing dates, scrolling through both Facebook accounts, finding more evidence. Photos of the new roof on her mother's house with Jürgen there too, welcomed his family. The brothers' truck captions thanking both Clyde and Jürgen in Thai. Her mother's medicine, Jürgen posting about helping with Mama's health. Everything I'd paid for, Jürgen had also paid for. We were both funding the same family infrastructure, neither of us knowing about the other. The mathematical betrayal hit hardest. If Jürgen had given similar amounts, and based on his posts, he'd given more. Then Noi's family had extracted maybe $30,000 to $40,000 total from two foreign men who each thought they were uniquely helping. I confronted her when she returned from her latest trip home. I printed Facebook photos, prepared translations, steeled myself. I laid everything on the table without saying a word. Her face shifted through emotions in seconds. Shock, panic, calculation, then defiance. "Just friend," she tried first. "Help my business idea." I pointed to the gold rings in the photos. The "my husband" captions. She shifted to blame. "You not give enough. I need security. You too old, Clyde. What I do when you die." Then tears. "I love you, but I scared. I have daughter. I need 2 men for safety." The explanations were nonsense, and we both knew it. "Did you take the same money from him?" I asked. "Sometimes more," she admitted. "Jürgen have bigger business. Does he know about me?" "No. I keep separate. Visit him when you think I visit Ploy, so all those trips home were to be with him." "Yes." I asked her to leave. She cried, begged, promised to choose me. Said Jürgen meant nothing. But her phone buzzed during the argument. LIN message from someone labeled with a German flag emoji. The performance collapsed. She gathered clothes, toiletries, walked toward the door. Then she stopped, reached into her purse, and pulled out the gold ring. The one I'd never seen her wear. She slipped it onto her finger, looked at it for a moment like she was choosing which life she wanted. Then she walked out wearing Jürgen's ring. I sat in the empty apartment, empty again, just like Portland, and felt the full weight of what I'd done. I'd spent 9 months building a family that was never real. I'd given $18,000 to fund someone else's con. I'd wired around every safety breaker I'd spent 40 years learning to trust, all because I was so desperately lonely I couldn't see I was being played. The math had never worked. Supporting 2 people plus extended family on $1,600 a month was impossible from day one. I'd known it intellectually but refused to accept it emotionally, because accepting it meant admitting that loneliness would persist, and I couldn't face that truth. So I'd paid for the illusion of family instead, and now I was broke, alone, and trapped 8,000 miles from home with nowhere left to run, compacting our conversations so we can keep chatting.